So you join us here at this very important time of the Premier League season where banter is flying around left, right, and centre. And we asked the question, Neil, are these clubs in crisis?
Dun, dun, dun.
Would you like us to go through the list in agonising detail and whittle them down to some top candidates?
Let's rock. The banter is flowing.
Okay. Are Arsenal in crisis?
Fuck no. Surprisingly enough, the banter baton is not at Arsenal. The celebration police are Kent.
Richard Keys doesn't count as police. He's too much of
They're
a
all the
criminal
good
as it is.
banners with his face on them saying we'll celebrate when we want. Love it. Um,
Yes,
no, but yeah, no, Arsenal are not in crisis officially. We're in the exact opposite of crisis. I don't know what that word is.
which must be weird. That must be weird feeling, Neil. Like,
It's weird. I hate this positive internet space. It's really,
yeah,
really weird.
don't worry.
Don't
If you lose to United, that will change. You'll get back to normal immediately. Are Aston Villa in crisis?
Getting there, definitely.
I'm going to say yes to that then.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's becoming more and more apparent that Steven Gerrard doesn't actually know what he's doing.
Yes.
Um, and like people will say, "Oh, well, they only lost to Arsenal 2-1." I was like, "Did you watch that game? They were not in it at all at any point ever. Like,
No.
we should have been 4-0 up by half time. It was ridiculous." Um, because the team just does not seem to have a kind of a tactical plan. You know, physicality and
Mm,
hacking the bone
yeah.
only works in a Simpsons episode.
Very true.
But yeah,
Let me
many
ask
people have
you.
earmarked Gerard as the kind of like surprise sacking for the season, and I kind of see where the money's going on that.
Yep, absolutely. I'll throw out some more clubs. Are Bournemouth in crisis?
Holy fuck! I was mid drink there, you motherfucker. Bournemouth aren't in crisis. They are fucked.
They're fucked. Okay, I'll put the double take beside them then. Brentford, are they in crisis?
No, not at all.
Brighton,
Nope.
Chelsea.
To be honest with you, prior to the ridiculous amount of money that they've spent, the highest ever,
Hmm.
I was actually going to go with yes. Tuchel's not happy there. The players that they have had got in, I don't know how they're going to click.
Hmm.
Now that they've got Fofana in, Aubameyang, um, I don't know how. I'm like again, as I have said in our previous video, I'll have to see this team with Fofana in it.
Yeah.
But fuck. Before now, I was going to say yes. Now I'm not so sure because if it clicks with Fofana in it, they aren't in crisis. It
Yeah.
did just had a bad start to the season. You know, we all have that.
We all have that.
Yeah.
Okay. How about Crystal Palace?
No, good God, no.
Everton.
They've had a surprisingly solid win though. But
Hmm.
Everton is Everton, and uh, no, not crisis. They're just
Okay.
pointless.
Fulham. Again, another one of those ones that are just like they're
No,
Fulham.
no. I'll say no. Considering
Yep.
the sheer amount of horrible players that they've signed, like real useless deadwood players, they're one of the few teams that have actually signed on deadwood,
Yes.
where everybody else has been shedding it. But no, I don't think I don't think they're in crisis. They've made some really good acquisitions. They've made some
Yep.
really smart business. I think that'll carry them through. Not crisis.
Groovy. Leeds.
No, definitely
Liverpool.
not. Ooh, we will have to come back to this at the end of this list. But
I'm gonna put a tick to their name
oh,
personally.
I will actually slightly disagree with you then, because
Yes,
this makes for a more interesting video.
it
I
does.
don't think so. I just think
Okay.
it's a bad start.
Yep. Yep. Fair. I am referring to the injury crisis as well, to be fair, and the fact that our players are suddenly getting older by the minute. The clock has struck midnight. Everyone's suddenly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think you could be right there. Man City, surely not.
Fuck no.
They're in crisis because Haaland only scored 2 goals this weekend and nothing
Yeah, he only
three.
scored 2 goals a game. Great.
Man United,
They've kind of pulled it back, haven't they, a wee bit? They were
a little
in the
bit.
they really did start the season in the complete doldrums. They were getting turned over.
Mm.
Um, Ten Hag's kind of righted that ship a wee bit. Bollocks. No, I'm not going to
No.
say no. Fuck.
Okay. Newcastle.
No, actually, I don't think so. Yeah, they need more in midfield, but fuck me, I really want to see Isaac play. He's just one of those players that I watch football to watch them play,
Yeah.
and I reckon I'm
Totally.
going to be watching a lot of Newcastle games now this season solely
Uh,
because of him.
yep. Absolutely. Not Forest.
I haven't even said not Forest. I honestly have no fucking idea. I really don't know. Shrug
I just
emoji.
put a question mark beside Not
Shrug.
Forest.
No, draw the shrug emoji. I really.
Yeah.
Which Nottingham Forest? Which set of 11 fucking players is in crisis? You tell
The
fucking me.
Knots or the Forest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Southampton.
No, I think actually
Spurs.
Southampton have finally come out of crisis.
Yes.
Um, Spurs, no, unfortunately.
Uh, okay. West Ham.
I don't think so. No, they've managed to keep a
And
lot of their good players, and yeah, I don't think so.
yeah. And Wolves.
Nope, I don't think
Okay.
so. I think again, Wolves slow start, they'll come good.
All right then. So this makes it interesting because I miss one club from my list there because I'm using them as the gold standard of crisis at the moment. So our five crisis club candidates for this year are Aston Villa, Bournemouth, Chelsea, Liverpool, and Leicester City. So which one is the biggest crisis? So you mentioned we'll start with Liverpool because that's the one that we were debating about
Go.
because as you said you were talking about how it was more of a bad start to the season. And in that sense, I kind of understand. But I think I'm also tapping into the little bit of the hysteria around the fact that we could have prevented
That's because you're
this
wide open to the
crisis.
hysteria being a fan.
Yeah,
Um,
of course. And in a sense, like I'm also like I acknowledge the fact that look at what Man City are doing. Look at what Chelsea are doing. We're not competing to that scale. We are playing our own game. We are gonna have to win cups. We're gonna have to win to pick our battles elsewhere. I still think we're gonna be still in the mix at a certain point because again we're starting to win games now again. Scruffy games. When we get scruffy wins, you know that Liverpool are back. That's my kind of calibration. When
like
we're getting like
Ruffy in a
98-minute winners,
97th minute
yeah,
winner.
that's when you know we're fucking back to our cuntish list best behavior, you know.
One that's looped in over the fucking keeper and all. I was like,
That's
oh
it.
my
That's it.
god, he didn't see that because the centre back was right in front of him. My god.
Exactly, yeah. But what I would say though is that it's certainly like the season the season last year has precipitated what we have now, where we have so many players that are out injured that have problems with keeping fitness now because we've had such a short holiday, and you saw the way they wilted towards the end of the season. They were just done. They were just fucking done. Even in the FA Cup final, where they were there on their feet, and it was thanks to a penalty shootout that we won the last few games of the season where we've gone behind each game, stuff like that. Those are worrying trends, whether they're because of the hangover from playing 50 maximum games in the season, or because these teams are starting to grow old and they're starting to decline. It's hard to tell. I think we won't know until really like another month in when they start playing 2 games a week again and they need the backup and need to get players back in. I think they'll be okay, but certainly in the short, it's a short term crisis, is what I would say. Like a little moment in time where we're a bit fucked, you know. But yeah, like again, I think it was preventative, is what I would say. They could have mitigated from this. They didn't have to be left with a midfield of, as you said earlier in the show, like 2 mid 30-year-olds asking a 19-year-old to run around for them. You know, it could have been a lot better than this. Um, we mentioned Chelsea as well in that. And again, kind of a half and half one because this is working provisionally on the signings working. But before then, as you said, there were weird noises coming out of Thomas Tuchel, mostly from the handshake with Antonio Conte. But even then, like you said, like he didn't seem happy with the
No, he
situation.
was just
Something not
constantly
right.
angry and shouting at us. He was just constantly telling his defense to man up, basically, and just going, they just need to toughen up. They just need to do better. And I don't know. Like they've just signed an ungodly amount. They've thrown severe amounts of cash there, but it was cash thrown around by Tad Bowley, who for a
Bad
long
Bowley.
time, I mean, even go back to our previous podcasts, it was like he
Mm,
was just copying everybody's notes. Don't
yeah.
even really think he fully knew what he was doing, but he still managed to splash more cash than any team ever.
Mm,
Um, And again, it's a real time will tell thing. But I don't know. Like, it depends. I'll have to watch the next match. I'll unfortunately have to go and watch their next game to
Mm,
see how it all gels together, how they all react to it. Because up until now, Tuchel's just not been a happy man with his team or with the board above him.
mm.
You know?
Yeah, and again, the interesting thing is that their next game in the Premier League, at least, is against West Ham. So, like, it's a chance to win. Like, West Ham are not been in the greatest headspace at the moment. It is a chance to pick up a good win against them. So, you'd like to think they've got a good chance there. So we shall wait and see. So we'll be happy to chalk off perhaps Chelsea Liverpool as mid crises, not like something that will pass. Let's say.
Well, the thing about Liverpool is that you have lost to an abject Manchester United team.
That is true.
And
That will always put you in danger.
Now that I've said that, I've completely jinxed Arsenal, and we will now lose to them on Sunday. Depending
I'll
on
be
when
sure
you
to put
put
this out
this,
on Sunday before the
yeah,
match, by
depending
the
when
way.
you put this out, but fuck, I don't see. I reckon Manchester United are in more of a. Sorry, I reckon Chelsea are in more of a crisis than Liverpool
Mm,
are because Klopp. I think Klopp looks at that team and goes, "I know what I'm doing. I know what I can do with this team. I know what I want them to do." Like the Nunes sending off straight
mm.
red couldn't have. Wow, was the timing on that
Worst possible
awful?
timing. Yeah.
Like I have no doubt that your results would have been completely different with him in the team. He's a
Yes.
superb player. Um, Although, to be honest with you, the red card has not forced, it's probably put the prerequisite needed rocket up Luis Diaz's arse to get
And
him.
well, I was gonna say Firmino there, to be honest. Like
And
against
Firmino,
the Bournemouth
holy
game,
shit,
yeah.
like, fuck me. It was like Firmino scoring goals and racking up assists in a
Well,
game. I was like, he's
he
never done
had a
this
really good
before.
he had a really good preseason though. That's the thing. He did come back really, really good.
Yeah,
The difference
so,
was that he picked up a stress injury right at the end of the preseason, so it kind of overwrote the good work he had done, and that was the same for a lot of players, to be fair. But yeah. So with Chelsea, then we're happy to say this one is a work in progress as well. So we're down to three in Villa, Bournemouth, and Leicester. So Bournemouth are going down. We can accept that now.
oh, yeah,
But
absolutely.
but even the fact that like we're saying that what 5 games in now at time of recording, like it's remarkable that like for me the fact that Scott Parker was willing to come out and say what he had to say. So if you're not a Bournemouth fan, if you haven't seen what's basically been going on, essentially Scott Parker followed up the 9-0 loss to Liverpool, which again we were kind of skimming over a little bit there. It's only 9-0 at home. Um but the cause analysis, if you will, of that loss was the fact that the team isn't good enough for the Premier League, and that is evidently true. They're a championship level side. They have been like realistically for some time. They have good players in there, but they're not up to scratch. They're not going to be able to do it, and the defenses become so leaky when you look at the fixtures. Can you blame them? Like Man City, then Arsenal, then Liverpool, like they've conceded what 17 goals in that 16, 18 goals.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for the fact they went up against a Wolves team who perennially don't score, it probably would have been more. And that's the thing with it. So like I don't know who they would want to try and get in. The fact that they haven't rushed to an appointment suggests to me that the owner of the club wants to engage in a bit of austerity. He wants to save money. He wants to basically bank this Premier League season and its revenue and just not touch it and do something with it in the championship with obviously parachute payments coming in. It's a bit of a cynical approach to your Premier League season, to be honest. It's a bit Norwich City, it's a bit West Brom, and like you'd like to think that Bournemouth would have a bit more of an optimistic approach to it, especially considering you spent so much time nicking Scott Parker from Fulham, which is the club, by the way, who nurtured him into the manager role. So you basically bought money. You signed Scott Parker as a manager essentially, only to sack him then 4 games into a season, by speaking his mind and being honest about the situation. And I think that is going to be a reoccurring theme with the other two teams we're talking about, to be honest. So like Aston Villa, we're going to touch on now as well, Neil, because I am going to go against my Liverpool blood here, and I'm going to agree with you about Steven Gerrard. I think he's been shown up a little bit at Aston Villa. That's being perfectly honest.
He's been completely
Because
shown up. He's been
yeah,
completely shown up. Not even a little bit. He's been totally shown up. He's no clue what he's doing.
Mm.
He's in way over his head. He's out of his depth. I mentioned in the previous episode that his unbelievable refusal to play both Coutinho and Buendia at the same time sort of is like that's the spear tip of the he doesn't have a fucking idea what he's doing. Like he's no idea how to
Yeah.
properly set up his team with more than one creative fulcrum in it. That's just crazy. Like this is the Premier League. You gotta have creativity coming from all over, man.
Mm.
Um, so it's crazy. Like, and yeah, no, he's no tactical plan. Going out there, I'm like, it was very obvious that his only plan against Arsenal was to hack us to bits.
Mm.
Um, I was just, I'm not. No, I just don't. I don't see like that Villa team is so much better than what he's getting. And he is now he is now the dead weight in that team, and that Villa setup.
Yeah.
The drag factor is his limitations.
It's interesting you bring it up because we didn't actually really touch on it in the previews and in the kind of segments up to it, but this weird, like not necessarily a spat, but presumed spat he had with Tyrone Mings, because he made a change of captaincy to John McGinn, and I'll be honest, I don't think the team is any better for it.
Oh my God, no. Look, to be honest with you, I don't even think John McGinn's good enough to be in that fucking team, let alone have the armband.
He's declined quite a lot in the last few years. I'll be honest.
Yeah, he's fucking terrible. Um, Here's my theory. Here's my conspiracy theory on it, right?
Okay, tin hats. Let's tin hats on, lads. Here we go.
Tin hats on. Get the tin foil out. I think Mings turn around to the hierarchy, maybe Gerard or whomever at Villa,
Mm.
and said, if somebody comes in large for me, I want to leave. If
Hmm.
he probably saw the amount of money that Chelsea were throwing around, which was all of it. Probably realized he could get a bumper pay packet at Man U because they were going in heavy for Martinez. This was probably before Martinez, probably before the transfer window really, really heated up and went fucking
Yeah.
batshit. I guarantee, well, not I guarantee, I reckon he probably went to the hierarchy and went, if someone comes in for me, I'm happy to play for Villa. I like it here. I'm happy to still be your captain. But if somebody comes in for me, I want to leave. And this filtered through probably to Gerard. And Gerard, being a former club legend captain himself, went, well, that's actually not the commitment I want from my captain. I don't want somebody with like an eye on the door or one foot out the door or whatever. And I reckon that's why he stripped him of his captaincy. I went, from a captain, I want 100% commitment. And you turning around and going, if somebody comes in and waves a load of banknotes at me, I'm done. Let me go, please. That's not
Yeah.
commitment. Um, and I reckon that's why.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a fair shout. Like it would certainly be consistent with what we have been told about this supposed rift, if you will.
Mm.
And the fact that I think that Jared has been staunchly kind of like bullish about it, like to the point where like the more he stands off about it, the more you start asking why. And it's that kind of it's a spoken out with no fire kind of situation. And I think, as you said, like I look at the team whenever he does line out a team for Villa, and I just look at it going like this team doesn't make any sense. Like as you said, like he seems too married to a system and to a formation, but he's not like a Klopp or a Guardiola level system where it works, it unequivocally works, and the players must bend to it. Realistically, you should be playing to your best team. Like if you have Coutinho or Buendia in your team, you use them. You have a choice of either playing two strikers, you're playing two tens. You can't have it both ways, kind of way. And as I said, there's an over reliance on Coutinho when Buendia, who has been playing better off the bench, realistically, you should be starting him. But he just can't seem to settle on a side, which I think is, again, going into a season now, you should have an idea of who your best players are. So I think the crisis is self inflicted there for Villa. Now we move on to Leicester, which I feel like this one's kind of crept up on even Leicester a little bit, because like you're looking at the whole point of it. So like, the story is that they're saving money to pay for renovations. Essentially, that's the line. Okay. But the reality is apparently they're in trouble for financial fair play. They're in Everton levels of insolvency there, in terms of their wages and their outgoings, and they're not recouping money from sales. which makes it so baffling then when they have turned down so many offers to sign their players. Like, I think I did the maths there. I think they said that if they basically said players are open for business, they would have got about £200 million, 20 million euros in sales this year from 4 or 5 players. And you're thinking, how could you have not turned that down? And to staunchly stick your heels in and say, no, we need to compete in this league, and then not give the manager what he wants. Now, don't get me wrong. I think this is also a little bit on Brendan Rodgers, because we've been down this road with Brendan Rodgers before. We have. We have been down this road before where he will have a good season with players he has. Some players may go, some players may stay. And then the replacements he gets in, he either doesn't use properly or he doesn't use them at all. And that's where we get the issues from. So when you get the likes of Adam Luckman, who was a good addition to the side, but he was a fringe player. Then you get past Patson Daka in, who, quite honestly, if you see him play for Salzburg, he was a fucking specimen. He's a monster of a player.
Yeah.
And this is a player who scored 4 goals away from in Moscow, I think it was, in the Europa League. And he's still playing third fiddle to Iheanacho and Vardy. Now, I know I'm being a bit of an apologist for him because no, that he's not putting the shift in training or whatever. But if you can't complain about not having the signings and then not actually using what you have, you can't do that as a manager. You have to at least show that you're limited in your options. You can't just rely on Vardy and Madison and hope for the best. That kind of way. And I think his kind of speech after the United game was obviously going like, look, I know we've lost to a terrible United side, but allow me to play politics for you for 5 minutes and I'll tell you why. And I think that's what he's done. It was a political thing more than an actual like being honest thing, kind of way. That's the way I read
I
it.
think it was kind of a blend of the both, in that he saw an opportunity where he could be both political and completely honest at the same time, and went,
Yes.
yeah, fuck it, I'll go for it,
Mm.
If they want to sack me, they're going to have to pay out my contract,
And that's entirely
I'll go buy
possible, to be
cardigans with
honest.
Scotty Parker,
Yeah. And I think that's a scary thing. I think that is a possibility for Leicester, because I think when you have your manager being so honest like that, surely the players are thinking the same way. And whether that that immunizes them and that kind of brings them together and they start playing together, I surely that is the opposite effect, because there's a lot of players that are close to the end of their contracts, like Tielemans and Madison are very soon away. So Yunsu as well, who's declined quite a bit. Iheanacho, who's only signed on for a little bit. And still, you've got Jamie Vardy, who's like knocking nearly 40 now at this stage, and he's still first team. Like there's a reliance on certain players and there's a neglect of others. And I don't, and as you said, I think there's a mix of the manager being stubborn and the top brass just not given what the manager wants. And I think that rift has already been made public. And I think it's only going to get worse the more it gets kind of swept under the rug. So we have 3 strong candidates for Crisis Club, Neil. But who'd you pick out of making the cases for all 3? Bournemouth is the kind of the punching bag of the league. We can all accept that.
Yeah,
Aston Villa, you could argue, is
Bournemouth because they're definitely going down.
Yeah, okay. So we were down to Villa and Leicester then. So Aston Villa, perhaps you'd say, is the victim of the ego of the manager, and then perhaps Leicester City is the victim of austerity, of owners going, no, tighten the belts. We're actually in trouble of losing points here and restrictions. So where would we? What is the biggest crisis in those conditions?
Leicester. There's no
Right.
solution. There's no solution to what they're going through. Well, sorry, apologies. There's no easy solution. Villa, get rid of Gerrard.
Yeah.
Get somebody in who knows what the fuck they're doing. I'm like, they have a talented crop of players. There's some really good fucking players at Villa.
Yeah.
Just get somebody in who knows what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like it actually is that simple. I hate to fucking say this, but with Leicester, I don't see how switching out Brendan Rodgers for anybody else solves that issue. I'm like, if you're not investing in the team, if the team's atrophying, if the team's wasting away, if there's no investment, there's nothing going in, you've got another Bournemouth,
Yeah, that's true.
Bournemouth has had no money put into them. Now, you didn't have to go to fucking sheer crazy Forest levels of shit, but you do have to put money into your team, particularly when you're playing in the Premier League.
You have to at least try and keep pace with the teams you're competing with.
That's it. I'm like, it's insane not to do that, and they're just not doing that. And so, yeah, I'm like, we can't pick Bournemouth because they're definitely going down. It's just too easy and a target. So, no, I reckon Leicester is the surprise. Not even, won't be much of a surprise at this point. But I reckon, yeah, talking from the start of the season, Leicester would be the surprise relegation.
Yeah, so there you have it, folks. We have empirically, mathematically decided that Leicester are the crisis club for this year. So strap
They
yourselves
have the
in, guys.
crisis baton, yeah.
They have the crisis baton, and if things do okay, they will pass it over to Aston Villa, and they will be the crisis clubs. And you know what? We'll pass around the league. We'll share it around. We'll share the love. But for now, if you are a fan of Leicester, you might want to you sit tight for a while the rest of us eat popcorn and watch fucking Rome burn.